I'm your host, Chris Budihas. And joining me here in the studio is Adam Dillon with the City of Jacksonville's Jacksonville Small and Emerging Business. That's a mouthful.
It is, JSEB.
JSEB. We're just going to call it JSEB, my friends.
It's a self-sustaining scallop farm. That's what I try to say all the time.
So for our folks, because we have an international and a national audience, JSEB stands for Jacksonville Small and Emerging Business Program. So now that you know, you should look it up. Just Google it and you'll see it. But I think for the folks that are not local, who are in their city, don't have a JSEB program, which we're going to talk about, they should talk to their city legislature about potentially creating one, because I think we got a movement occurring here. So,
well,
Adam.
Yeah, let me tell you why that is so important for city legislature, because why that makes that so important for them is we are the only city in the state of Florida where a small business program, a certification program, so to say, is actually codified in law. We are written into city ordinance, which Duval County and the city of Jacksonville is a combined entity. That happened back in the 1960s. We are the largest city in the United States in the lower 48. And a lot of people don't realize that. We're larger than New York City, we're larger than LA. By land size, you have to go, I'll tell people, you have to go up to Alaska. You have to go find somewhere like Sitka to go find an island that's bigger. And in a population, we're really getting up there, but as far as land size, we're huge. And for a small business certification such as JSEB, about 20 years ago, it was codified into city ordinance. So we actually have legislation that small businesses within the city of Jacksonville, and of course small business by federal regulation is anything under $20 million. We look at it as an aggregate of anything of about a 3-year aggregate of $36 million. So about $12 to $20 million a year, and then that aggregates. But the city of Jacksonville has to make a 20% good faith of their city budget, of tax, government contracting spending. Yes, thank you very much. I have not had enough caffeine this
obviously.
morning. My parents.
But you look good.
My wife dresses me in the morning. Thank you. So, my military paratrooper juice there. So, but we have to make sure that at least 20% of our city contracting dollars and our budgeting goes to local small businesses, and that is so that we keep that business here in the city of Jacksonville, that businesses within the city of Jacksonville continue to grow and do not fail. The JSEB program is not intended to start small businesses. We're there for entrepreneurs to make sure they grow and continue to stay here. We do work very closely with SCORE and the SBA and the SBDC, and we know we are the conduit to be able to go to those organizations and help businesses get started for entrepreneur development. The JSEB program is actually getting ready to launch 4 community centers in the city of Jacksonville.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, and that's never been done before. We're looking at having a grand opening during Small Business Week between May 4th and May 10th. One of the first ones is going to be at the Golf Fair location. That is going to be over at 865 Golf Fair right next to Kipp School. And these community centers, we're going to have one down at the main library downtown. We have a very small one over at the Phoenix Art District, which is
Springfield, right?
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, Springfield, up and coming area, a very good community partner, and then all the way out at Cecil Airfield, because we're doing so much expansion out there in industry and residential. So the idea for these community centers is places, so if Chris Budihas, retired from the Army, said, hey, I want to open up a business in the city of Jacksonville, where do I go? You walk into a community center, you talk to one of our center directors, and then we say, hey, we need to get you over to SBDC, let's talk to them. Or you say, hey, I am moving my business to the city of Jacksonville, how can I get established here? How can I get capital access? So then we introduce you to our banking partners that we work with for that capital access, for the funding. So essentially we're just providing that conduit. We're gathering that data, providing that conduit to be able to help our small businesses grow here. And we have many different levels within a tier system in JSEB, whether it's up to 300,000, up to $1 million, $1 million plus. But some people look at a small business and don't realize, we have businesses that are making 10, 15, $20 million a year and employing hundreds of people. Small business is the backbone of America. A lot of people don't realize that most small businesses in the United States employ up to 45% of all people in the country. They employ more people than anybody else in the nation outside of the government and other entities. And you mentioned earlier that our watchers and listeners here on the program are not just national but international. When we're talking about our JSEB program, it centers around teaching people how to do contracting as well. That's
huge.
That's business to business.
That's huge.
You know, you walk into Target and you hand them a $20 bill, that's a contract. Or if I wanted to contract with client-focused media, we're teaching people how to do things like that by also contracting with local Duval County, St. Johns County, state and federal government entities, along with also business-to-business private entities. Some of our local JSEBs here have landed some of their first international contracts.
Oh, wow.
You know, we have JSEBs that are doing contracts in Africa and the Middle East, and we're trying to expand that business out internationally, but keeping those businesses here locally. Jacksonville is quickly becoming a fintech hub for financial technology. We're becoming an AI technology hub, and we're really trying to help Mayor Donna Deegan's initiative by becoming the small business capital of the Southeast. And also within the JSEB program, we're turning into making our own marketing very unique for what we're doing. There's things that we're doing here locally, like no one's ever thought about using QR codes, you know, for the type of marketing. So, you know, I'm sure you love stickers. So there you go. There's a JSEB
thank
sticker.
You. All right.
So when you're going around town and you see these JSEB stickers on the businesses, and you walk up to a door and you see that JSEB, which is a JSEB affiliated business or a JSEB certified business, we're in the process of launching something called the JSEB STAR program, Strategic Target and Resilience. And these would be for companies that are larger than $20 million. We have, I think, about 25 publicly traded companies here in Jacksonville, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies. These are for companies to get involved with JSEB so that they can turn around and subcontract out to JSEBs.
That's huge.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're very familiar with the Stadium of the Future project with the Jacksonville. Hey, we're getting close to draft, you know, coming up here. So, you know, we're starting our draft.
First round last night,
first round. So, so with our Stadium of the Future project, very popular. A lot of people don't know that is a JSEB set-aside project. So 20% of everything in that project is going to local small businesses. And when you go around town and you see these JSEB stickers on businesses, those, regardless of what they are, in some way, shape, or form, could be affiliated with that project. And people walk up and they scan that QR code. It goes right to our JSEB website. There's an online electronic application. People go into the community centers and they pick up this marketing and they walk around and they go, hey, have you heard about JSEB? And then they hand that off to another small business, and essentially our entire online application is right there for the business to be able to look at it. And a lot of people ask questions and say, you know, how difficult is the process? Well, when someone gets their certification through the city of Jacksonville, it's not just the city of Jacksonville. You're able to work with JAA, JTA, we say the J agencies.
That's huge.
And once you get into JTA, Duval County Schools, JEA, Jacksonville Transit Authority. We also have partnerships with UF Health, Baptist Health. Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars is a huge one. You know, those are things that really get these small businesses out there, and they're able to work with other agencies they've never been able to work with before. Some of our banking partnerships, we have business bankers, and I mentioned to you before, that are starting to work with other banks in the area that come back and tell us they've never worked with other banks. Because they've never done that intercommunication with business bankers to turn around and help small businesses. We've started a trend in Jacksonville that no other cities are doing within businesses communicating with each other that is starting to spread out. So, you know, when you mentioned earlier about starting trends with other cities and other legislatures, we're doing things here that people are taking notice. As a matter of fact, starting in May, we are doing something that is getting noticed in Tallahassee. It is a Persons with Disabilities Entrepreneurship Cohort. And we're gonna choose 20 local people. Some own a business, some don't. And we're showing that persons with certain types of disabilities can own and start businesses. And let's say
That's
they're
powerful.
and you know, a person who may be a paraplegic may not think, hey, I can run a business. Well, I tell you what, if you have a smartphone and you know how to get online, you can run a business. And we're showing them that if you have, everybody has intellectual capability. They can hire someone. They can hire a manager to run their business. They can run a logistics business. So, you know, we're going to show them through a 6-week entrepreneurial cohort that you can run a business. And even if you have Social Security dependency, if you have government subsidies, if you're a disabled veteran like I am, and you know, some of us are, then you still have the ability to do these things, and there's nothing holding you back. So we're going to be the first municipality in the state of Florida that's really going to start pushing this forward. And hopefully this will take route within Florida and maybe some other states to be able to do this.
Will you do this training at the satellite campuses that you're creating here in the city? Or?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
We're going to start running that through our community centers,
Yeah.
and we have some other types of trainings and initiatives that we're hoping to push forward and being able to do that. So.
I've been familiar with JSEB for like the last, I guess, about almost 18 months now, and just the power of JSEB. It's funny because people are like, I've been on the website and I got to do these requirements, and to me, it's not a heavy bar, but it is a bar you have to pick up, right? So entry into JSEB is not automatic. You got to meet a standard in order to be part of JSEB. So there's a certification process, but it's not that hard. But I think as somebody that goes to these different businesses to support local, if you will, I know that's got the JSEB stamp, so there's a level of expectation that they meet the requirements as a small business, and then as a result of that, I imagine the products and services are pretty great. So you're probably seeing the benefits of these folks whose businesses are growing as a result of being part of the program, right?
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah.
I like anybody, I love mafia movies. Somebody says, "Hey, I'm a made man."
Yeah.
When we take a look at these businesses, we're taking a look at the banking, the accounting, making sure that taxes are good, banking is good, because when we go to other city entities and we say you're going to go through the procurement system, you're going to go through the contracting system, everything's good.
Yeah.
This is a viable business. So when other people come in there and take a look at it and it gets that certification, that stamp of approval, you're doing business with a already vetted, viable business.
Yeah.
And there's no question that somebody has already taken a look at the books, taken a look at the taxes, the finances, and said, hey, they're a viable business. Right. They would be good to actually offer a loan to, or be good to do business with, because the city has already done that vetting process for you. Yeah. And also, one of the things that we're doing as far as training our companies is when people go in for maybe a construction company or a contractor, we're doing some of that pre-con training to make sure that they have some of that in place. And when they go for some of those construction contracts or federal contracts, that we're helping with some of those extra certifications for some of those federal contracts. And maybe from now, when you walk around the city, you'll see some of these.
So tell me about this pen, please.
So we were looking maybe for some recognition. People get they get an email and they say, hey, welcome to the JSEB program.
Right.
So of course, I'm retired military, and we got this tradition going all the way back to the SF units with the coins.
Right.
And so we were looking for a way to maybe give a little bit more recognition to our JSEBs. JEA has their blue and silver pens, and JTA has a red one. So we were looking for a way to maybe recognize some of our partner organizations like CFM, to where you got that pin that you have there.
Excellent.
So we have a JSEB pin that for our JSEB certified businesses and some of our client partners like CFM Media, that when you see that JSEB pin at functions and organizations, that you can see those JSEB business owners that are recognized in the community. Yeah. So,
no, I appreciate it. I've been, of course, I've seen you at a lot of these because you're at all of them. But I've gone to these community events where you guys are, passing information, question and answer period. And now I think the power of just what you said, specifically, I love on here, you got all 5 pillars to JSEB. So legislative advocacy, which you talked about, education opportunities, community engagement, capital access, and then contract opportunities. Those are all important. But as a small business owner, I've had folks ask me, how hard is it to start a business? Folks in the military getting ready to exit themselves. I said, how hard is it to start a business? I said, well, starting a business in Florida is easy. I got certified, but I got registered in SunBiz in 24 hours. I got my EIN number from the IRS in less than a day. So that's easy. It's running a business. How do you run a business? That's the hard part. And I've seen these community engagements, folks get information and follow up with JSEB, like contracting, for example. Most small business owners, unless they've been in the space previously, do not know how to do contracting, but you provide them the information and knowledge that potentially opens up multi-million-dollar opportunities for them. The Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium is a great example. You're gonna have people doing everything from painting to parking lot striping to doing janitorial services, to doing other, what we would call higher end blue collar type work. And they think the huge gamut of opportunity that 20% of these contracts are going to be, first offered to small businesses. Why would you not compete in this space? I think it's a great opportunity for those small businesses. I think there's like between 25 to 30,000 here in the Jacksonville area to get in the program and reap the benefits of such a membership, if you will.
Well, and I was waiting for you to ask me about that, because you asked me earlier, how has the JSEB program changed?
Yeah.
When it was first initiated many years ago, it was strictly about government contracting. Well, Gregory Grant, when he came on board, who's now the Chief of Entrepreneur Development, he has taken on more of a legislative role, and that's typically what he handles. He asked me to come on board, and I'm doing more of a community outreach and business development, which is exactly what you see here. I handle a lot of the community engagement. With our 5 pillars, legislative advocacy, of course, is at the top. If we do not engage in legislative advocacy, we're not going to be able to change the program. So we get involved in education equity, which is what we're doing with our community centers, community engagement, which is exactly what we're doing here, working with you. And then we have capital access, which is where we bring in our community partners to be able to help our JSEBs get that access to capital. And then, of course, the last is contracting opportunities. So we're able to offer that exactly like we talked about through local, state, and federal contracting.
That's great. So Adam, I after our last interview, we talked a couple months back, I had friends reach out to me. I live in St. Johns County, and they were going, wow, previously, or you had to live in Duval County, or at least have your business registered in Duval County. I understand there's a pilot that's occurring with St. Johns County where you can join JSEB potentially?
Yes, that is correct. So the way the JSEB program was codified in legislation is the business has to be located in Duval County for at least 12 months. And then residents can live in in Duval County, or they can live in one of the 4 contiguous counties for at least 18 months, and then they can register in the program. We've really been trying to grow JAX as a metro area, because there's so many organizations like JEA and JTA that they have all that reciprocity. So we've started a pilot program with St. Johns County to start allowing businesses in St. Johns County to have reciprocity with JSEB. And we're looking at that, and we're seeing if that grows the way that we think it will, then we'll start working into Clay County and some of these others, because we have a lot of businesses where, even though they are registered in, say, St. Johns or Clay, all their assets are right here in Duval. The majority of their business is right here, or vice versa. So we're really trying to open that up and have all that reciprocity back and forth. So we're starting in St. Johns. We've met with the St. Johns County Commission over there, and we've met with their economic development. So we're going to see how that works out.
So future events, so we want to get that out. Obviously you can look at the website. Obviously in social, you guys are very proactive in LinkedIn. What other events besides the opening of the Gulf Fair campus is occurring here in the next month or 2? So
please go to the JSEB, jseb.jacksonville.gov. There is a schedule of events. One of the things that we have done is we've partnered with Downtown Vision JAX, which is an amazing organization. We just got into legislation that we are going to start allowing nonprofits into JSEB, which is huge, because we have so many nonprofits that can get involved in the program and get the same access to any of their business. That's allowing us to work with Downtown Vision Jacksonville, Riverside Arts Market, Avondale Project. So what that's allowing us to do is now we have JSEBs that are going to be out at Downtown Vision JAX once a month for the First Wednesday Art Walk. The Riverside Arts Market, once a week, we're going to have JSEBs that are out there, and that's going to allow us to market to all those other businesses that are there. So go to the schedule of events on JSEB, jseb.jacksonville.gov. Again, a mouthful. And then you'll also start seeing other events, like we're partnering with Silicon Beach. We're doing our first Shark Tank events about every 6 weeks, where we're doing fintech pitch events and technology pitch events. We're partnering with local banks and financial institutions like TD Bank, where we do business roundtables. These are things that are open to the public. They're open to businesses for people to get involved in. If businesses here locally say, we don't know what to do, there is something every week, every 2 weeks that's going on.
I can't keep up with it. My calendar is already booked. And how much do these events cost?
Absolutely nothing.
My favorite price.
It is free 99. And it is so amazing when I hear businesses say, what does it cost us to get involved? We're like, no, this is a free service through the city. It is the largest free networking business to business service in Northeast Florida for businesses to get involved in, for businesses to participate in. And it is just an amazing opportunity for small business to grow and stay and make Jacksonville the small business capital of the Southeast.
Well, I'm going to take all your contact information, all the contact information from JSEB. We'll put it in our show notes. We'll encourage folks to go out, reach out to you, connect with you on LinkedIn, and then also take a look at the website and then to get involved. The call to action, you put it out there. It's free 99, and then the fact that there's so much to do, and I don't think everybody needs to do it. Just pick and choose based on your availability and just get out there and get involved. So thanks for coming in.
Yeah, Chris.
It's good to see you.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, always good to have another Army vet in here. Yeah, yesterday
No.
I was surrounded by Navy guys. Oh my God, it was dangerous.
Yeah, people asked me one time, they said, how do paratroopers make a difference? Well, this is it right here.
You're making a huge impact on the city, and I appreciate your friendship.
I just love doing it. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, if you're not excited, I'm not sure you must not be alive. So take a look at JSEB and what we're doing out here in Jacksonville. Specifically, you live in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. And then if you look at your own town, if you need a model, take a look at what we're doing. Connect with Adam and I on LinkedIn, and we'll see you at our next event. And live with gratitude.